episode of Literary Gladiators, the show where we discuss and debate literature in all of its forms. If it's written work, it's game. Let's meet the panel.
Hello, I'm Larry.
Kelsey.
I'm Austin.
Morgen.
And I'm Josh. And today we have a new kid on the block. Austin, welcome to our show.
Hi, thank you so much.
Already,
So good to be here.
Austin, you were a recruit from America's #1 assistant producer, sitting to your right.
Mm-hmm.
Austin, anything fun and unique that people should know about you?
I love to read. What can I say? I'm an open book, and also my name's Fat Patricia.
Is that where the Felicia comes from?
No, the Felicia comes from the fact that I'm always late to everything. And
I'm always leaving.
Yeah, and I'm always leaving. And so Kelsey's always like, bye Felicia, all the time. Or like, Felicia, where are you? Actually, we at one point came across an ad for Felician College, and she was like, you should honestly transfer.
Because fun fact, we go to school together. So
Yeah, we do.
there is an interesting fact.
That's an interesting fact, yeah.
Ready then. What are we going over today?
Cut by Sylvia Plath.
Okay, we have gone over Daddy and Lady Lazarus, and both of them have been received very well on our channel. So I thought we would discuss another work by Sylvia Plath, and Kelsey is a fanatic. Already. What are we talking about with regard to Cut?
Mm-hmm. What do you believe inspired the speaker of this poem to go from talking about cutting her thumbs to a moment in American history?
It's very Woolfian, as in Virginia Woolf.
Yeah, like stream of conscious.
It's if you've read The Mark on the Wall, this is very reflective of that.
Yeah, that's the first
where
one.
where she starts by talking about an accident that she had while chopping onions, and how this connects to moments in history, from the Pilgrims and the natives to the wars, the Revolution, and all of that. And it just progresses. American history. It progresses in American history.
I think she go. What was the question?
Oh. What do you believe inspired the speaker of this poem to go from talking about cutting her thumbs to moments in American history?
So I think the first line is "What a thrill, my blood and thumb instead of an onion." So I think that she's like fascinated by hurting herself, or like fascinated by like kind of destruction and chaos and pain and things. So I think that kind of just turned into like all the things that have happened historically that have been destructive and painful.
So you see What a Thrill as being a more straightforward answer, as opposed to, oh, lovely.
Like a sarcastic.
No, yeah, I think I don't know, but I think she's saying "What a thrill."
I agree. I took it.
It's like gross
earnestly.
and fun to look at.
I'm not sure it was an accident.
Yeah.
I don't think that it was necessarily an accident. In fact, in my reading of the poem,
You'd never know with Sylvia Plath.
You know, the way that I read it, I think that what's happening is she has cut herself, and is kind of like using herself as a metaphor for an instance of the human condition.
Mm-hmm, yeah.
And what she's doing is she's like taking into account that all of these things are a part of her, and that by cutting it, she's trying to cut it away, but you can't really cut it away. It's part of you. So that's how I kind of take that.
I like that.
I like the idea of, inflicting pain upon yourself, and then thinking about, like I said, the human condition, how we kind of exist because we have inflicted pain upon others. And then, but even more, what you said I thought was really great about how I am here because I am a product of people who have inflicted this pain upon others. If that didn't happen, I wouldn't be here today. So that is, a part of me, just as much as cutting myself, has become.
Yeah, and in that as well, you have, she's cutting herself, and then thinking about the pain that's inflicted on other people. Really, it's inflicted on all of us.
Yeah.
It's not just one person. Like if you look at her as the human condition, like humanized, and each individual as that, And you kind of have to accept like all of the ugliness and all of the badness that we are capable of, as well as all of the good.
It's also very typical of her poetry to reference history. You can see throughout most of her poetry that she has a fascination with history. And when I read this question, I Googled it because I had always noticed that she had a lot of like historical references. We all know about her fascination with Nazi Germany and things like that.
Her
but-
dad was German too, and
Yeah.
he sympathized with Nazis.
But I had never like really looked into whether she had ever made a comment on it or anything like that. And I found an interview that she where they asked her about her affinity with history, and she said something along the lines of because she's an academic, and she said that she had been tempted at one point to stay on to get a PhD, that she feels all of her raw sensuous emotions that she discusses as a confessional poet should be related to larger events and larger things like Nazi Germany, like the pilgrimage to America, that kind of thing, because she wants all of these raw emotions to be informed and to be less narcissistic, which I really like because I feel like she's always viewed as narcissistic because she relates these larger things to herself, but that's not the case. She's actually doing it to stray away from that. So
It was interesting. I was watching. I was rewatching a video that my friend Jared taped, having to do with him reading this particular poem, and this poem was dedicated to Susan O'Neill Rowe, who was a babysitter for her children. It's interesting what the connection would possibly be to her babysitter and this particular poem, which you would think is far more directly reflective of her. Kind of a curveball.
yeah, I'm not sure.
Yeah, it's hard to say. It's hard to say what their relationship was. And
But
what
then again,
conversation they might have had.
sometimes they just dedicate poems.
Could have been anything.
Yeah.
True.
I'm also thinking because like the one line is like Little Pilgrim, and I'm thinking that has something to do with children, because like Little Pilgrim, and maybe it has maybe that's why. But I'm just
And a lot of these images are
Running out of
things
thin air here.
dangling. The flap of a hat dangles. The axing of the Indian scalp, that dangles as well. A turkey waddle, which is the little dangling flesh that's under their neck, right under their beaks.
Here's a bit of a stretch, since we're talking about these things dangling and basically hanging on by a thread, because Sylvia Plath struggled so much. Her nanny could have been the thread she was dangling from with her children. Like she was holding on to a healthy relationship with her children because she had that help there.
Definitely a good point
Yeah.
to take.
Yeah.
Any final thoughts?
I don't know, I love Sylvia Plath, so you should read her poetry. And I definitely suggest, looking up more interviews with her, especially if you're the type of person like Josh who isn't necessarily a fan of her and maybe views her as a little narcissistic. I think you should look up more interviews with her and her point of view on her own poetry and her, inspiration for her poetry.
Yeah, I agree. I think that I also love to do that. But I think that really to understand her, we have this idea of who she is in popular culture, and so we kind of use that to inform our reading of her poems. But I think that reading, her own words and in interviews and things can definitely inform what she's written in a very different context, and so that really adds to, I think, what she's writing.
Yeah, I haven't read a whole lot of her work or anything about her, so I just come from it by judging the work on its own, and I like it. I'm sure you're right that it would be better to be more informed on it, but it's not necessarily necessary
Yeah.
No,
No.
not
to
at all.
appreciate it. Yeah, I like this poem a lot. I think it's kind of a courageous thing to associate yourself with certain atrocities and horrors. And I think that her willingness to do that can be kind of revealing and help us all maybe understand certain aspects of what it is to be a person.
Mhm.
Want to cover your ears for this one, Kelsey?
Oh God. Say it. I can handle it.
Okay. We went over,
I'm
this
just kidding.
is the third video we went over. I thought I didn't like Daddy, I didn't like Lady Lazarus. Kind of like this one.
You kind of like it?
I liked, yeah, I did. I liked this poem. I liked the Wolfian aspect to it. I liked the fact that Sylvia Plath was quite creative with how she was talking about this basic injury and turning it into something that was quite a mindgasm, I would say. And I think that after looking at some of her other works, they are not as narcissistic or over the top as I had thought them to be, and she really isn't, or she does write poetry that is not trying to claim pity where it's unfair to claim it. Like in, like when she makes references to the people trying to revive her or her father as Nazis and how she is a Jew.
Well, I'm glad to hear you're finally coming around.
But with regard to Cut, she's bringing up some interesting aspects and tying this idea of hers to American history. Already. Before, I guess, I'll leave a link down below to this poem, to Jared's video. You have where you found your interview?
Yes, I do. I have a link to that, and that'll be below as well.
I'll put that down below, and I may put the complete anthology as well. It depends on how I'm feeling when I'm uploading this. Alrighty then, be sure to join us next time for another episode of Literary Gladiators. For now, keep reading.
Bye.